Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello again, everyone. I'm David Fiorazzo, joined by the one and only Katie Petrick. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can educate more patriots around the country. So today, let's start in Democrat-controlled Oregon, also known as Oregon, but we'll say Oregon because that's proper, where a majority of parents say they're fed up with the failing school systems and they want their tax dollars to follow their children to better schools. This is interesting, Katie Petrick, because it's Oregon. And I put some notes down here because I'm thinking, boy, this is a fascinating headline when you're talking about one of the furthest left states in America. Even they think the K through 12 system is heading in the wrong direction and they want that money to go to help the kids. Well, where were they 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 25 years ago? Well, first of all, it's Oregon. Even Democrats agree that the wrong direction system is broken, but what surprised me is the numbers. 73%, or nearly 73%, said that they generally support school choice. Katie, I know they're pro-choice when it comes to life in a mother's womb, but they're supporting choice when it comes to schooling?
Is
this surprising coming out of Oregon?
Yes, it is. I mean, in a big majority, when you say nearly 73% of them generally support school choice, I mean, the simple fact that over half of them, 55% of them, believe that the overall system is completely, like, it's heading in the wrong direction, and only 16% say, yep, we're doing a great job here. So we have this group of just 55% saying it's the wrong direction, and yet nearly 73% of them actually, even maybe a couple of the ones who say, yeah, we're on the right track, do say, yeah, you know what, school choice. Parents should be able to take their tax dollars and say, well, where should this money go? With my student somewhere, or I put it to a specific place and not just public school and there goes anything of value. They think 56% of them say they actually strongly support school choice. So it's not just like, 73%. Okay, no, 56% of that 73% are saying, yes, please. Let our kids get to go where they want and with the dollars that we provide for them. And nearly 17% of them say they somewhat support it. Now, only 24% of Oregonians said that they actually oppose school choice, and less than 17% actually said they strongly oppose it. So basically what you have is a majority, almost 3 out of 4 of Oregonians are saying, yeah, we should have school choice. And those ones are really in support of it. So this means this is an issue that they truly do care about. Whereas the ones who are like, no, we oppose it, the other 24% are saying, but only 17% of them actually strongly support it. They're too busy with all the other issues that Oregonians tend to care about.
Yeah, let's talk about a few of those issues, shall we? But first, for those 16% who think the education system is doing great, what are you using to measure that?
It's true.
So last year, let's be refreshed in our memories. The Menstrual Dignity Act was passed by Democrat legislature, signed by Governor Kate Brown, requiring all Oregon public schools to provide free menstrual products like tampons and pads and all gender restrooms by the end of the school year, including elementary, by the way. The boys need to know about tampons in elementary school. Then I remember it's Oregon. Now in second grade, children are taught how to, quote, recognize differences and similarities of how individuals identify regarding gender. Second grade. And in third grade, kids must be able to define sexual orientation. Third grade. Why? Because, as we've said, it's Oregon. Now, this article also says Oregon has received backlash from parents for adopting progressive policies, surprise, surprise, in its K through 12 public schools over the last years. Now, the same thing could be said at least half the schools in the country, right? In half the states in the country. But what will it change? And I want to ask Katie this, maybe she's got some insight. I don't think anything will change, but there's been backlash across the country. But maybe you know more about this. You obviously do, because you've studied it longer and you're well informed and you're educated. So what will it change?
Backlash. The backlash isn't going to change unless we actually take the backlash and turn it into votes to get some of the politicians to get out of there. The ones who are making the actual decisions for what's happening in the schools are the gatekeepers. You're talking about Oregon, right? So we're talking specifically about this state. Oregon is run by the Democrat legislature, Governor Kate Brown. Lots of far left radical activity is happening there. Then you have the public who is waking up and saying, hey, stop doing this. But if those same people just keep voting in the Kate Browns, nothing will change. And we have a statement from Mackenzie Pulliam, who's the president and co-founder of Oregon Moms Union, who said, Oregonians are demanding more options for parents and kids. It's time politicians began to listen to the choices of parents instead of imposing their own will on students. Fact check true. And that's happening at all. I mean, just go a little bit south there to California. It's happening left and right, but mostly left. The only thing that could possibly change in California, and maybe it's changing a little bit more, you've had experience there living out in California. People are leaving.
Yes.
Like you did, you left. And so if you can't change it from within, you go somewhere where it's actually going to work for your state. Now, this, in just talking about school choice, all should be left up to a state's issue and to a local issue, not a federal issue, because guess what? At the federal level, we are all fed up. What a quinkadink that goes together with what's happening. So it should be happening at the state level, at the local level, because we do have this thing called the U.S. Constitution, and as much as some radicals on the far left want to get rid of that, we still have a thing called the 10th Amendment, and the 10th Amendment says that all the powers that are not given explicitly to the federal government is left to the states. And so education is not written into our Constitution saying, hey, federal government's going to come in and control it. So leave it up to the states and then the local school districts so that we can get a better, more informed citizenry.
Surely you can't be serious. No, seriously though, we're talking about being fed up with the Fed. As we've seen here, I mean, this has been ongoing, but it is important for people at the local level to get active, to get involved. But the downside of this, when parents start waking up and they're not liking the blue states, what happens? They're not going to probably flip their worldview to Christian or conservative. They're probably going to move out of that state to a red state, which becomes purple. So this is the way of the country. So we need to get more patriots and Christians and conservatives to get out there and vote in every election to change things.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
It's the end of the school year. Mom and Dad, maybe you're already feeling that summer break and your kids have asked for food 17,000 times this first day of break, because that's what kids do over the summer. They eat and sleep a lot. Anyway, it's the end of the school year, and so the New York Times decided to put out an opinion piece by Rachel L. Harris, Alicia Sahni, and Lisa Tarchik, and it was called America's Teachers Offer Answers to the Education Crisis. I was intrigued. And so I read through it, and the authors basically wanted to see what life is like in the classroom. So they sought the input of pre-K through high school teachers, And they wanted them to describe the past 2 years. They wanted to know the challenges, the wins, the misunderstandings, and the advice they'd give themselves before the COVID pandemic upended American education. Now, they received more than 1,000 submissions, and they gave an overall assessment, and they boiled it down to this. Teachers feel forgotten, disillusioned, and tired.
They're tired.
They're tired. It sounds like any new mom of a newborn. Forgotten, disillusioned, and tired.
Just tired.
Just tired. So they did break the story down by segments. They had segments called Setting the Record Straight, The Challenges, Wins, The Lasting Effect on Students, The Advice They'd Give Their 2020 Selves, and How to Move Forward. And so I just wanted to take a look at some of the more interesting comments and figure we can get your reaction to them
Sure.
and see what you thought. So under the section called Setting the Record Straight, Brooke Lundgren, who's a 21 years of teaching in public primary schools, currently a second grade teacher in Littleton, Colorado, said, "I am not loyal to either political party." Setting the record straight. I am not loyal to either political party. I'm just trying to teach your child how to read. I barely have time to use the restroom, let alone push an agenda for anyone. And I found this fascinating because this was the first comment, the first thing that the New York Times decided to put out there. And that's strategic.
Yep.
They're trying to set it up as your teachers are out there just doing the best they can. And before you start, I see you. I can hear you typing right now, the comment, but I'm a teacher or my teachers are all good. This is not for you then. I know there are plenty of wonderful teachers out there, but on this show,
Yes.
the examples we've provided day in and day out show that there are way too many not good teachers out there who are doing more than just trying to teach your kid to read and write and do arithmetic, because that's what you should be doing. So good on you, and I feel for you, and I hope you have a big bladder if you're having issues like her about not being able to go to the bathroom. But it was strategic on New York Times' part, is what I'm trying to say with that one.
Yep. Barely having time to go to the bathroom. What kind of environment are we allowing our school teachers to work in if they can't go to the bathroom? That can cause all kinds of internal problems.
This is true. Now, under the challenges section, we had a comment from Andrew Smith, who's a 30-year teacher, currently economics and history in a Los Angeles County public high school. Andrew said, under the challenges, that administrators expected that everything would snap back into place. Kids are emotionally damaged. They've lost skills, and when you put 36 students in a classroom with a single teacher, there's going to be a lot of struggle, a lot of triage. I think many educators felt pressure from their administrations. We needed to ease our kids back into routines. Instead, the system chose to send them back, time travel style, to February 2020, and then demanded answers for why things weren't working out so well. Now, there's a lot we could unpack during that whole little statement. But my 2 cents is a simple fact that, yes, the administrators, because we have way too many administrators in this and not enough actual quality teachers, it's administrators who don't understand teaching and education and what the system is actually set up and what it should do, but rather what they are wanting it to do. And so, yeah, I believe Andrew when he says that administrators thought, oh, okay, well, we're back in school now. Let's just make it all better. Everything's great. We've just had kids, online or missing completely in the face of example of Baltimore schools. Kids just disappeared. We have no idea where they are. And now, boom, we're back in person, so everything should be great. They haven't lost any education, except we know they have.
Yeah, and by the way, Katie is making me read the New York Times, so pray for me here. That was a surprise. No, it's interesting that there's so much disconnect in the system and the head, the NEA, and some of the leaders. I saw it was during the pandemic, during the lockdowns when more people were at home and everything. I saw videos of teachers doing yoga, doing karaoke. There were dance moves. They were doing some fun stuff, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, if they're somehow thinking this is going to pass for, and I know it's entertainment. I said it right. Because it's entertaining, it's not educational. So that showed me that they just wanted to keep the kids engaged or occupied, which is not really the purpose of education.
Well, and that's Yes, what's interesting you say that, because under the section lasting effects on students, we had a comment from Tess Riesmeyer, who is an 8-year teacher of middle school literature, writing in humanities at a private Montessori school in Pittsburgh. She said that Zoom school was a soul-sucking horror. Agreed, because like when you're on Zoom school and these teachers didn't know how to operate it and the students didn't know how to operate it, you got the yoga instructor teachers or the karaoke teachers because they're like, eh. But anyway, she said, my students went from engaged and excited learners to dead eyes on a screen. The screen only intensified their adolescent feelings of being constantly judged. So I usually had the choice of dead eyes or no eyes at all. I've been concerned about my own health, but also deeply concerned about the health of my students and their families. I think anxiety will remain with all of them for a very long time. And that's what we were seeing from how many different stories we read about suicidal students. And it's all because the schools, which should have been opened long before they actually were open, because the kids were not carrying the disease, COVID, to other people. It went on for way too long, so the Zoom school was, kids just tuned out. Either, they had the dead eyes or they just were gone completely.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
I have some hard news for you, David.
You do?
If you were a community college professor in California,
Yes.
you would be a massive failure.
Why?
Well, it has nothing to do with your skills.
Okay.
I'm sure your skills are fine.
All right.
But I'm just looking at your diversity levels, and it's just not good. It's
Not good.
Not
Diversity
good.
levels.
Diversity levels.
Because
So-
I don't push the D. Is it DEI, DIE, DEI?
DIE.
Diversity, inclusion, equity.
Yep.
What else are there?
And just all of who
Yeah,
you
so
are.
I wouldn't be a good
yes,
fit for the-
you would not. Well, the California community colleges are going to now grade their employees on how well they promote the diversity, equity, inclusion, and they have an A, accessibility. So it's DEIA.
DEIA.
And their tenure review now will depend upon it. So the Board of Governors approved the language at the most recent meeting for new criteria for performance reviews. According to the press release, the addition will require schools to incorporate diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility competencies and criteria into performance evaluations and tenure review. As the board said, local district leaders will need to support and provide every employee with professional development and ongoing supports to educate the most diverse student population in California. And based on the proposal that was actually made back in March, and now here we are in June, the district would include DEIA competencies and create criteria as a minimum standard for evaluating the performance of all employees and provide employees an opportunity to demonstrate their understanding of DEIA and anti-racist principles. The document defined anti-racism and anti-racist as policies and actions that lead to racial equity. Okay, we're getting into word salad again, because if we're defining anti-racism and anti-racist as policies and actions that lead to racial equity, but they didn't actually define what racial equity means, then how do you know so that you can get tenure and keep your job? You better learn word salad or word soup. It's California. What's more vegan sounding? Word salad? Word salad probably sounds more vegan,
salad.
So more approved.
Yeah.
Now, a spokesman actually did deny this new regulation, this whole racial equity thing. The guy's name is Paul Feist. He said the policy does deal with equity, which is the condition under which individuals are provided the resources they need to have access to the same opportunities as the general population. Equity accounts for systematic inequalities, meaning the distribution of resources provides more for those who need it most. Exactly. Everyone's like, meh. Clarification was sought on what any of this means, and Feist came back with this. Racial equity, as defined as the consistent and systematic, fair, just, and impartial treatment of all individuals, including individuals who belong to underserved communities that have been denied such treatment. Okay, I'm still confused.
Yes,
Okay.
me too.
Well, if you're, he then said, nothing in the policy requires the colleges engage in present discrimination to ameliorate
New word.
past discrimination
New word.
or regulate the content of speech. There should have been room for meaningful debate and a diversity of views regarding how these objectives might be, achieved through local district policies and practices implemented on college campuses. So, you need to be, diverse and accessible and equity and anti-racist and all these things, but also you can have free speech. This is going to go so well.
Yes. Ameliorate.
Ameliorate.
That was the word. But obviously critics are displeased with this. And this, you're reading this, Katie is reading this, and I'm thinking, did John Dewey ever envision this type of system in America? Because he set us on this path, didn't he, in the 1930s, 1940s, and it's amazing. I think the system has now even exceeded his progressive humanist expectations. All right, before we go, let's take a little time to fill you in on some other stories we've been following. The first story poses an itch you can't just scratch, as a case of the crabs has turned a Missouri woman into a millionaire. So a woman has successfully argued that being infected with a sexual transmitted disease in the back of a car is worth millions. How much, you ask? Well, everyone's favorite lizard company, Geico, has been ordered to pay the woman $5.2 million to deal with the pain and suffering of consensually sleeping with a man who gave her the STD in his car. Geico, of course, tried to fight it, but the court deemed the insurance company didn't take her seriously and that she had a legitimate case. So the moral of this story apparently is, if you sleep with a stranger, you may get millions, but you'll be feeling the burn for the rest of your life. Katie, I know you want to share a thought or two about this, no? In the back of a car, I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm just going to keep my comments to myself on this one.
Self-control, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to a much better story, a group of conservative students at Louisiana Tech University are fighting back against left-wing narratives by launching their own independent online newspaper. Yay, another one. It's called The Soapbox, and its mission is to stand up against censorship, yay, and strive to deliver the truth. Yay again. The 10-person team is starting out by covering local stories in the Baton Rouge area, but it's nice to see students taking the initiative by providing more conservative voices to cover the news. Finally, let's wrap things up with everyone's favorite satire site. We've picked our favorite Babylon Bee headlines again to see which one would be crowned a numero uno. And we'll start with school district announces summer enrichment program for kids who need extra grooming. Next, out-of-work teacher forced to shout out her sexual preferences to random kids at the playground. Next, man not sure if wife is packing for long weekend getaway or to travel the Oregon Trail. Next, historic Powerball lotto jackpot now up to 2 tanks of gas. And finally, Jimmy Carter worried all these Biden comparisons could tarnish his presidential legacy. I already know which one I like best. Katie, your top. Natural reaction, ladies and gentlemen.
Poor
your
Jimmy.
Your top pick.
Poor Jimmy, the
Yeah,
peanut
poor
farmer.
Jimma.
Poor
Jimma
Jimmy.
Jimma.
Jimmy. I actually did see the headline about the 2 tanks of gas. And I think when the Babylon Bee wrote that headline, it was actually a little bit cheaper. So now it's probably only a tank and a half of gas, which with the inflation, the value is just there. So hopefully the Powerball keeps going up and maybe you'll get to 3 tanks of gas.
Yeah, can't believe how much I've been paying to fill up my tank. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. More to come next time.
Well, all right, that's going to do it for this silly show. For all of us here at Freedom Project, stay educated, my friends.